Macklemore cancels Dubai show to protest UAE role in Sudan's civil war. Now, when I saw Macklemore's post, he posted his long post on, I believe, on his Instagram. I had no idea what was going on in Sudan, right? Like, there's just so much going on. It's like the Congo and Syria and Israel and Gaza, West Bank, Russia, Taiwan. There's so many hot conflicts going on right now that, or at least escalating conflicts. That's so hard to keep track of all the atrocities happening in the world all at once. So I appreciate Macklemore for pointing this out, and I'm actually going to be learning with you guys today what's going on. Now, of course, I did do a little bit of research on this and what's going on, so I have an idea, but we're going to watch a video, and we're going to read this article, and we're going to sort of find out what's going on because, of course, there's atrocities everywhere in the world, and we have to find out as much as we can about them so we can feel bad about ourselves. So let's jump into this. Macklemore has canceled start that sentence over again, friends. Macklemore has canceled an upcoming October concert in Dubai over the United Arab Emirates' role in the ongoing genocide and humanitarian crisis in Sudan through its reported support of the paramilitary force that has been fighting government troops there. Ugh. What does that mean? The announcement by the U.S. rapper reignited attention to the UAE's role in the war gripping the African nation, while the UAE reportedly has denied arming the Rapid Support Forces and supporting its leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. UN experts reported credible evidence in January that the Emirates sent weapons to the RSF several times a week from northern Chad. So there is connections there. They're saying there's evidence, but nothing has been proven, it seems. Sudan plunged, and I mean, come on, the UAE has been a part of some real shady shit, as well as Israel. You know, like all those Middle Eastern countries have all been a part of some shady shit, especially when you think about the UAE, who I'm sure their leaders are trillionaires. They control so much oil, and that natural resource itself is just enough to, you know, I mean, that you can starve an entire nation. You could destroy nations by just cutting off energy supplies, you know. But I don't know. So are they arming those RSF? I don't know. It says there's evidence. I don't know. Sudan plunged into chaos in mid-April 2023 when long simmering tensions between its military and parliamentary leaders broke out in the capital, Khartoum, and spread to other regions, including Darfur. Now, I've heard stuff about Darfur. Estimates suggest more than 18,800 people have been killed in the fighting, while more than 10 million have fled their homes. Hundreds of thousands are on the brink of famine, which is what happens in these situations. At a contentious UN Security Council meeting in June, Sudan's embattled government directly accused the UAE of arming the RSF, and the Emirati diplomat angrily told his counterpart to stop grandstanding. The UAE has been a part of the ongoing peace talks to the end of fighting. What?
Who's on first?
Get out. Shut the door. Okay. Anyways, this is why you don't have children, folks. I'm just kidding. Have more kids. The UAE has been part of ongoing peace talks to the end of fighting. The Emirate Foreign Ministry offered no immediate comment on Macklemore's public statement on Sunday, nor did the city-state's Dubai media office. Organizers last week announced the show had been canceled and refunds would be issued without offering an explanation for the cancellation. In a post on Saturday on Instagram, Grammy winner Macklemore said he had a series of people asking him to cancel the show in solidarity with the people of Sudan and to boycott doing business in the UAE for the role they are playing on the ongoing genocide and humanitarian crisis. So that's a lot with what's going on with Israel, with the boycotting of Israeli businesses. This is what they do when people are what is that, protest with your dollar. And it seems to me that there's some fuckery going on. It's what always happens when you have these, when you have first world countries dealing with third world countries when they're trying to extract resources or whatever it is. They're always going to be, they're always going to be the ones being boycotted. They're always going to be the ones to blame, and rightfully so. Who knows what UAE is doing over there? Who knows what they're after over there? I don't know. Macklemore said he reconsidered the show in part over his recent public support of the Palestinians among the ongoing Israel-Hamas war raging in the Gaza Strip, which they just recently invaded the West Bank, which, what the fuck? I mean, I guess they got to get all the terrorists and everybody who lives there too. I don't know. I guess it's just indiscriminate murder over there, which it seems like in Sudan, which is wrong. He recently has begun performing a song called Hind's Hall in honor of a young girl named Hind Rajab, who was killed in Gaza by Israeli forces, along with her four cousins, her aunt and her uncle, and two paramedics. All streaming proceeds generated from Hind's Hall going to UN Relief Agency. So, what does this say? Hind's Hall, once it's up on streaming, all proceeds go. And we're not going to play that because I don't want to get us copyrighted. I know that this will probably jeopardize my future shows in the area, and I truly hate letting any of my fans down, he wrote. I was really excited to... but until the UAE stops arming and funding the RSF, I will not perform there. Yeah, and I have no judgment against other artists performing in the UAE, but I do ask the question to my peers scheduled to play in Dubai. If we used our platforms to mobilize collective liberation, what could be accomplished? Absolutely, right? Like the same thing. So much pressure is put on Taylor Swift, and I would say equally on Joe Rogan right now, for them to speak out and speak for and support all these causes that all these fans of theirs want them to support. So, I agree that, if you have a platform, use it the way you want to use it. If Taylor Swift wants to come out against Trump, let her come out. If she wants to come out for camel toe, that's fine too, whatever. I applaud this. I applaud protests. That's your right. You should do that. The RSF, formed out of Janjaweed fighters under the then Sudanese president Omar al-Bashir, I've heard that, who ruled the country for 3 decades before being overthrown during a popular uprising in 2019, which I'm almost guessing for sure that the CIA was probably behind that, working with the UAE probably. He is wanted by the International Criminal Court on charges of genocide and other crimes during his conflict in Darfur in the 2000s. Dubai has tried to draw A-list performers in the city-state at a brand new arena and other venues. However, performers in the past have acknowledged the difficulties in performing at the UAE, a hereditarily ruled federation of 7 sheikdoms in which speech is tightly controlled. That includes U.S. comedian Dave Chappelle, who drew attention in May in Abu Dhabi when he referred to the Israel-Hamas war as genocide and joked about UAE's vast surveillance apparatus. Can't be doing that, friends. Can't be speaking out against power, real power. These are the real people who have power, the people who have all the money. All the people, it's not governments. It's, maybe the UAE. Maybe Israel too, but I'm guessing they're more controlled by corporate interests. So let's. I want to watch this video. This is from Al Jazeera, so obviously the slant is going to be against. I don't know who it's going to be against, but because are these all Muslim countries? I don't know. Is Sudan a Muslim country? Because the UAE is deeply Islamic. Sudan, Muslim country. Yes, Islam is the most common religion in Sudan. So it's Islam and against Islam. Ain't that interesting? I mean, I wish I knew like what the real shit is. Like, I know there's more to the story, so I'm sorry if you guys are just finding out and I don't know anything. I don't know more about what's going on over there. So I can't give you any extra details, but hopefully this Al Jazeera video, I've watched some of it and it seemed pretty informative. So let's go here. It even says start here.
Let's talk about what's happening in Sudan.
Rival forces remain locked in a power struggle despite international calls for a ceasefire.
It's an all-out battle for control of the country between Sudan's army and a paramilitary unit known as the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, led by men who used to be allies. Hundreds of people have been killed, and hundreds have been injured. There's fighting in different parts of Sudan, but it's heaviest in the capital, Khartoum.
Isn't that always how it is? Is like, especially when you think about like CIA and the Americans' relationship. When you think about like Russia invading Afghanistan back in the day and how the United States was using that to sort of spread Russia's power and military might a little thin. And because they knew that no one can take over Afghanistan. Afghanistan is all mountains. It's all tribes. It's like, it's never been done. I don't even think Genghis Khan could take, I believe, Afghanistan. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh, yeah. Wait. Let me go back a second. I don't remember.
There's fighting in different parts of Sudan, but it's heaviest in the capital, Khartoum.
Ah, yes. Allies. So, in a sense, the CIA trained Osama bin Laden, right? And Al-Qaeda, which later turned out to be... they were freedom fighters at the time when they were being trained and given weapons by the United States shadow government. But as soon as they started being like, hey, the United States is a large part why we're angry, so fuck you. And that's when we turned on them. But that doesn't stop us at all, right? Because we've turned on people that we made allies. I believe Muammar Gaddafi was one of those. The Libyan leader was one of those people who shortly was allied, and then we turned against him. And the rumor is because he was trying to start an African currency to exclude United States current dollar, the U.S. dollar. So we do this all the time, right? We go in, we make buddy with the local rebellion, or we create the local rebellion. And then once we get what we want, we turn them into the enemy. And I mean, it's the oldest playbook we've done forever. And so that's why it looks so familiar when they're saying that these people used to be allies turned into, I'm sure terrorists or the RSF. I'm sure that these, I'm sure it just feels like there's some sort of American influence in there, but I don't know, Again, I don't know, because when you were allies and then you turned into the enemy, it seems like there was some kind of fuckery going on there, and that's like a United States, regime change playbook.
There have been attempts at a ceasefire, but they haven't lasted. There have been air attacks and shelling. The airport has been severely damaged. There's no running water or electricity. Supplies of food are running low.
This ridiculous battle that has civilians caught in the middle. And we have nothing to do with this.
So what's behind the fighting? Well, people in Sudan have been struggling to set up a democracy after decades under one-man rule.
And there it is. Again, another telltale sign. They're trying to start a democracy. Because that's what America does, is spread democracy all over your face. I mean, how many times do you hear that? We got to spread democracy. We got to save democracy. It's a hot term, a word that's used to evoke a certain emotion of pride of a country and be like, oh yeah, democracy's good. That's us. We're democracy. Oh yeah, they're just spreading democracy. Like it's trying to soften the blow of us, going in, genociding a bunch of people until we have control over their resources.
Omar al-Bashir came to power in a military coup in the late 1980s, became president, and stayed for 30 years until
Not
people
bad.
rose up and demanded that he step down. Then the army took over, and people didn't want them in charge either. So after pressure from protesters, the army agreed to share power with different political groups in a transitional government.
That never goes wrong. Nothing goes wrong with that kind of stuff.
The idea was that it would oversee a transition to a democratic system. But 2 years later, the army kicked out the prime minister and seized power again.
The people in Sudan seem to be trapped in this limbo, and they're going round and round in a circle that involves the same people, with no clear path or trajectory on how they can actually start to plan for transitioning.
There have been ongoing talks to make that transition happen between the military and political groups representing that pro-democracy movement. But a major reason the process is being held up is because of an underlying rivalry between the army and the rapid support forces that have become like a second army. And many people see this as a personal rivalry between the army's leader, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who's effectively the leader of the country, and the leader of the RSF, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, widely known as Hemeti. The thing is, for years, both men were on the same side and had been since the war in Darfur. Hemeti led a militia at the time widely known as the Janjaweed, and they were used by al-Bashir's army to fight rebels in the region of Darfur.
They were created to protect the upper echelon of the military and the senior commanders.
They're accused of carrying out war crimes there, and al-Bashir actually got charged with committing genocide. In 2013, the militia were rebranded as the Rapid Support Forces and worked with the army on different missions. Then, in 2019, Hemeti and General al-Burhan joined up to get rid of al-Bashir. And during the big pro-democracy protests, the RSF and the army were accused of killing more than 100 people. But since then, the RSF has been acting a lot more independently, and they've grown more powerful.
They were able to establish vast investments around the country and outside the country, especially in the gold trade.
These two main actors, the army and the rapid support forces, were able to collude, now successfully for about 4 years to stay in power themselves, but there was always that core tension about who was the top dog between them.
Power vacuums, bro. Power vacuums. That's what happens, right? Another playbook, because we'll go in, fuck shit up, and turn the people against the current leader to get our people, or we'll turn the leadership of the opposing regime against itself, which it seems like is what happened. I'm very curious. We're going to come back to this video. Let's see if Google has anything to say about CIA involvement, Sudan, RSF. Let's see. There's not much information about the CIA involvement with the RSF in Sudan, but here are some USAID, U.S. response to coup in 2021. The U.S. condemned the Sudanese military coup, overthrew the government, detained, blah, blah, blah. The U.S. called for Hamdok's release, $700 million aid. In April 2023, the U.S. and other countries evacuated their citizens and diplomats after fighting RSF. U.S. cooperation with Sudan. The 9/11 Commission report states that Khartoum government cooperated with the U.S. against transnational Islamic terrorists while also being involved in human rights abuses in Darfur. Okay. Oh, well, look at this. Here's a Wikipedia. Sudan has a conflict in Darfur area in Western Sudan. The Khartoum government had in the past given sanctuary to transnational Islamic terrorists, but according to the 9/11 Commission report, ousted al-Qaeda and cooperated with the U.S. against such groups while simultaneously involving itself in human rights abuses in Darfur. There are also transborder issues with Chad and Darfur, to a lesser extent with the Central African Republic. These conflicts led to strange alliances with the U.S. Once eager host of Osama bin Laden, Sudan's Islamist movement has once split, with the two factions now fighting the proxy war in Darfur. In the 1990s, the U.S. rejected every initiative offered by the Sudanese to cooperate on counterterrorism issues, including an offer to extradite Osama bin Laden. The Sudanese government's willingness to share its copious intelligence on al-Qaeda has now bought it some immunity from responsibility for the atrocities in Darfur. The CIA has initiated close contacts with Sudanese intelligence after Director M.G. Salagash, who has also been identified in Congress as a war crime suspect for his exploits in Darfur. In a sign of growing cooperation, many Sudanese prisoners at Guantanamo Bay have been released to Sudanese authorities. Besides intelligence sharing, the U.S. is also keen to protect the peace agreement that will end the North and South Civil War and release vast new reserves of oil to the market. So, this is a timeline. 2006, 2007, they were involved. And, oh, look at that. It looks like in 2007, that was their last involvement, and they just left. They just left all that oil and never came back. I almost guarantee this is the fucking CIA trying another regime change. And who cares if people die? Who cares, what happens? Man, I wish there was something. Let's see. Let's go to Rumble and see if there's anything that anybody has made. CIA, Sudan, RSF. Let's see if anything comes up. Emerald Robinson, CIA, Sudanese fighters overtake Fauci's biolabs. Oh my God. What the fuck? So I don't know, man. Again, there's nothing linking them directly to what's happening now. But I'm guessing that in 2007, it wasn't like they were just like, "Whoa, we're just gonna get up and go and forget about it." Let's just read what happened in 2007. June 2007, the Khartoum government rebuffed appeals by the new French foreign minister, because France always gotta get their dirty hands on their resources as well. Europe is so great about this. To allow the UN African Union force into Darfur, Chad, and the eastern border of Darfur, and the traditional French client. The United Nations has been struggling for nearly a year to persuade President Bashir to allow a hybrid UN African Union force of up to 23,000 peacekeepers into Darfur to protect villagers from roving Arab militias that have led the slaughter of an estimated 200,000 people and the displacement of millions more. The pressure on Bashir has been mounting recently with an announcement of tightening sanctions from President Bush, threats of sanctions from the United Nations, and the election of new French president who promises to make Darfur a priority. Sudan, let's see. Let's just jump down here. The U.S. Special Envoy told reporters last week, Arab group in the neighborhood, to Darfur people. So, yeah, there you go. That's the last involvement that we can find on Google. But let me know if you guys know anything else or have seen anything else on this. Again, I'm not that familiar. So this was all us sort of learning together and what's sort of going on. That still doesn't give me a full picture of what's happening, but it kind of gives you an idea of how we got here, right? Because it's always the goddamn American government trying to steal resources and at any cost. So let me know in the comments if you guys know, or if there's any connections between the CIA and what's happening in Sudan currently. I mean, even in 2007, what happened in 2007, of course, obviously can influence what's happening in, current. So same thing with the Ukraine in 2014, the CIA led coup of the Ukrainian regime. They overthrew it. And then years later, now we have a war going on. And now Ukraine is invading Russia. So here we go. Anyways, friends, let me know in the comments what you think. Make sure you like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys on the next one.